Hello everyone, it's Shannon here. Thank you so much for joining me today. In today's video, we are going to create a really fun interactive card with the Little Artist stamp set. As you can see in this picture, the little mouse inside the frame is black and white, but when you pull the slider, you can see how the mouse is suddenly colored. It's almost like magic. It's a really fun card to create. I'm going to start today's card with the Little Artist stamp set. This was illustrated by Liz Tinker, and I just love these mice. They're so cute, and I love the whole artist theme. I actually pulled off some of the stamps already and mounted them in my MISTI. I have the frame, the mouse with the beret, a paintbrush, a palette, and the easel. I'm going to ink them up in Memento Tuxedo Black and stamp them onto some white cardstock. I'm going to do some Copic Coloring, so that's why I used Memento Tuxedo Black. It is a alcohol marker friendly ink. And now I'm going to start coloring these. The colors I'm using are on screen so you can follow along. I just have a couple grays picked out for the mouse here, really keeping it pretty simple with my Copic Coloring today. I pretty much always start with my lightest color first, then move on to my next darkest shade. For the little outfit I'm going to put on the mouse, I decided to make them all black. And so I have some dark grays picked out with black as well. So I first put down my light gray, my medium gray, and then my black, and then I go back through my colors with my medium gray and then my light gray to kind of blend it out. Just two little light red colors, practically pink colors really, for the ears and cheeks. And then the frame, I picked kind of like this golden yellow color. And I don't have to worry about being too careful with my Copic Coloring for the inside of this frame because I'm actually going to trim that out with an X-Acto knife later. But I'm going to quickly color that, just two colors. After I kind of do that little gradation, I do grab my darkest here just to kind of fill in some of those details in the frame. Now moving on to my wood here, and I actually made a mistake. I started in with my medium shade here. I realized it after when I got to my palette. So I'm grabbing my lighter shade now and kind of trying to fix the easel a little bit, but it doesn't matter much. It's okay if the easel is a little flatter. I think it's all right. And I was able to pick up some of that color with my lightest color. I was able to pick up some of that medium shade brown. And then I just blend those three colors out. For the paintbrush, it's just a small little area, so again, only two colors. I picked out a couple grays for that little metal part. And then I have my bristles and my paint on the tip right there. And once I finish that, I'm going to move on, take that same combo of reds and start filling in the little paint splotches on the palette. Basically doing a little rainbow here, but there's only four colors, so I forego the yellow for that. Now, like I said earlier, I'm going to cut out the inside of this frame. So I have my ruler here, an X-Acto knife, and I'm just going to cut it out. I did want to point out that I am cutting on top of a cutting mat. You do not want to do any X-Acto knife cutting on your water media mat because you will damage it. You'll actually cut the mat. I now have a black Copic marker and I'm just going to color the inside where I cut on this frame. That's just going to really clean it up and give it a nice polished look. So I went ahead and die cut my images out, and then I die cut a second frame out of the corner of this white cardstock. And now I'm centering that frame stamp in the negative. I did use my Copic color frame just to kind of help me position and get that frame stamp in the right spot. Now I'm going to grab that blank die cut frame, pop it into our jig here, and then I'll ink up this frame with Memento Tuxedo Black and stamp it. Now I stamped this frame even though it's going to be completely covered by our Copic colored frame, but I stamped it so I could better position this little mouse so I could get perfect position on him. And now I'm going to stamp him in Memento Tuxedo Black. So what we're creating right now is that background mouse in the frame that's very colorful. So and there's no need to mask for this because it'll all be covered by that Copic color frame. Now I have an acetate die cut frame and I popped it into my jig here, and I'm going to ink up the mouse with StazOn. StazOn is a ink that is permanent and dries very quickly on acetate, so it's a great ink, actually a necessity for this technique. So after ink up this mouse, I'll stamp it, and I decided after I stamped it that it was a little light, so once I stamp this mouse here, I'll peel the acetate off of the stamp. It kind of sticks to the stamp a little bit, and then I'll just pop the acetate frame back in our jig, and then I'll stamp the mouse a second time so I get nice dark image on that mouse. And so the jig does two things. It allows me to stamp this mouse a second time and get it perfectly aligned, but it also ensures that the mouse stamped on my acetate and the mouse stamped on our background are perfectly matched, perfectly aligned. So creating this magic slider card or magic color changing card is going to be really easy, and the illusion is going to be very effective. So I'm now moving on to coloring this mouse that's going to be in the back of our slider. And I've already colored the mouse and his ears and his cheeks because you've already saw me color our first one with the beret. And now I'm going to quickly kind of add rainbow stripes to his sweater here. The colors, again, I'm using are on screen so you can follow along. It's the same colors I used before for the palette, except for now I've included yellow. And I do basically two colors because I do the stripe in a light color and then a darker color on the sides of the mouse to kind of create the illusion of roundness. And then I use a couple really light blues there for the background. So now I'm ready to kind of create the pull tab for the slider. So I have a strip of white cardstock here. It's a little bit bigger than the opening of the frame. I wish actually I made it even a little bit bigger than that, but you can see it kind of extended beyond the opening of the frame. And now I'm going to do a partial die cut with a circle die here at the top. You can see I take that top plate and I don't completely cover that circle die because it's going to stop cutting right at the edge of the plate, and that allows me to get a nice rounded corner instead of a whole circle. You definitely don't have to do that, and if you had maybe like a circle punch, you could use that instead. Then I used my frame to kind of gauge where the end of the pull tab is going to be, use my pencil to mark it, and then cut it with my paper trimmer. So while I was trimming the excess off of my pull tab, I also trimmed down the sides of my pull tab to kind of create this little lip on the very bottom of the pull tab. That lip is going to make sure that when you pull the pull tab and it's fully extended, it doesn't come out of our little slider track. I just don't like it when the pull tab comes completely out. So this is just going to ensure that it stops and stays inside our slider. I'm now going to stamp pull onto the top of our pull tab. This little pull sentiment is from the Open Here stamp set from Waffle Flower. I just stamped that in Memento Tuxedo Black. And then I die cut a third frame with the frame die here, and I'm going to use this to help me construct the track for our pull tab so it pulls up straight and stops at the very top and doesn't come completely out. So I started cutting maybe a little early here, so I'm going to grab my pull tab, place it on top of that back die cut, make sure I have the pull tab in the right spot, and then I'm going to trace where the edge of the pull tab is, and then all the way down to the bottom where that little lip what we created is. And I'm going to, at the very top here, I'm going to cut it in a little, so I'm not cutting it completely straight, kind of like an L here, an upside down L, so that's going to create the little catch for our pull tab. I'm now going to grab a 1/8 of an inch hole punch and just punch the very top of my pull tab. That's going to be for a piece of twine. So I just have a piece of twine here. I'm going to kind of fold it in half, and then I'm going to grab a needle, and this is just going to help. I'm just going to use that needle to kind of push that end of the pull tab, or I'm sorry, end of the twine through my pull tab, and then I'll just kind of open up that loop and then tuck my two ends through and then pull, and then I have now my twine at the top of my pull tab. Now I'm going to really start to construct this. So it's going to start to come together here. But first I'm going to grab that frame that we cut the sides off of and just cut the bottom. I just want a little strip at the bottom of my frame so the pull tab doesn't fall through. And now I'm going to grab my sides, my L sides here, and just add some glue to the back side and then line them up, because again, these were trimmed off of a die cut of the frame, so they should line up perfectly. So just line those up at the edge, double check here and make sure that that opening is really nice and close to the pull tab, so it's snugging or hugging it pretty nicely. Grab that little bottom that I just trimmed off and glue that, and again, that bottom's just so the pull tab, when it's totally pushed down, it doesn't kind of fall through the slider. And then I'm going to grab my Copic color frame and adhere it to our acetate frame, and then once I get those two lined up, I'll grab some glue and just put glue on the very edge. That's important. Just do the very edge of the frame, because that's where our kind of channel pieces are. And then I will glue that Copic frame right on top and sandwich that pull tab in there. And as you can see, when we pull the tab, boom, we have this magic reveal, and the pull tab doesn't come out of our slider, which is, I think, a nice feature as well. So now I have an A2 top folding card base that I ink blended a little bit of Waffle Flower's New Fish in Pond in the background and stamped a sentiment from the rainbow stamp set. Now I'm going to glue my picture, my slider changing, to my easel, and then I'll glue that easel onto the card base. Now I'm going to take my mouse, and I added some foam tape to the back of him, stick him down, and now I'll just glue on his accessories, glue his palette to one of his hands, and then I'll put the paintbrush in his other hand, kind of make it look like he's just adding a little bit of paint to that image, and that completes our card. I'll now hold the card up to the camera so you can get a good look at this card. I had so much fun making this card. I was so excited to share it with you guys. I'll go ahead and pull that pull tab now so you can see that color changing slider in action. Super cool. Whoever receives this card, I hope, will be really excited and kind of blown away by that fun interactive element. And I love this little artist stamp set. I think it's so cute. I think there's so many more fun cards you can create with this set. Definitely ones with lots of rainbow would be lots of fun too. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you'd like any more information on the products I use, please check out the links below. You can also follow my blog or check me out on Instagram. And if you like this video, I'd love for you to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day.